Hi guys, welcome back to iStudyBells, where today I am going to be giving you the 7 things I wish I'd known before I started year 12. If you already follow me on my YouTube channel, which is iStudyBells, you'll know that I'm now going into year 13. It's my last year in 6th form. It's a little bit strange, but you know, I mean, we all have to get there at one point. The first thing I wish I'd known is that the jump from GCSE to 6th form is only a big jump if you make it one. Now, it sounds quite daunting when I say that, but what I mean is that if you consistently do what is asked of you and you learn as you go, then you should be absolutely fine. I didn't have a problem for a while with the jump. I didn't think it was so much of an issue for me personally. I know that some of my friends did struggle with the jump and it is perfectly normal, but what I'd recommend is just listening to your teachers. They know what's best. They've been there for all these years. They've seen it all already. So just genuinely listen to everything that they have to say because it's so valuable. Something I think isn't touched on enough is how you make your notes in 6th form. I've just grabbed a little example of how I make my notes in 6th form. I'll put them up on screen now. I'll probably do a video where I show you what's on them and things. A lot of people ask me about this, so I just thought it'd be good to address it now and then separately in another video if needed. Basically, the way I make my notes is very similar to how I used to do my GCSE notes. It's just a better version. As you can see on the page now, I have my title in purple, that's my heading. All my key information is written down. You'll notice that I have a margin which I've created myself, and that is so I can write in the specification any little notes to myself, anything I found online or added to my notes. And then summary questions, which are basically just practice exam questions. You'll see as well that all my key information is highlighted in blue, much like I do my mind maps. Any math would be in pink, so like equations and things. Yellow is key terms and definitions. Orange is just little facts. In geography, that would be case studies and things. I basically do my notes like this for all my subjects. Now, this is a part that sometimes varies. If your teacher says to you that they recommend you do the notes before the lesson, so for example making notes from a PowerPoint, much like we do in biology, then just do it because chances are it will be for your benefit. Don't let yourself get into a state where you're falling behind on notes, because believe me, that is the worst place to be. Just make sure you keep up to date with all your work. You'll be fine. Sometimes for physics and geography, I copy up my notes to look like the ones I've just shown you, and that is because I like having a neat set of notes. Contrary to popular belief, you don't need neat notes as long as you understand what's written down. You can even type it up. I'm sure some schools will let you do that. As long as you understand what you've written, you should be fine. The second thing I wish I'd known before I started year 12 is what an EPQ is, and you'll be thinking, well, I don't know what an EPQ is. Can you explain? Yes, I can. An EPQ, or Extended Project Qualification, is the equivalent of about half an A-level in UCAS points if you do it well enough. And it's just a project which you research, you choose a title based on something you enjoy, something which you're not studying at the moment, or something out of your curriculum. So what they call a supercurricular thing. See, I'll talk about that as well later. I'm really sorry. Once you've chosen your title, you do like initial ideas where you say why you've chosen that title, what you want to base your project on, where you're going to get your resources from. Then you have to go out, you have to research, create like a essay plan, write an essay. It's 5,000 words. Sounds like a lot, but funnily enough, it's not. You'll probably run out of words. I know, I thought the same. And then you basically do a evaluation of the process as a whole and do a presentation. Now, you're graded on this just like A-levels. It goes A star to whatever the lowest mark is, your U's or your fails. And I think it's really valuable because doing an EPQ has taught me how to Harvard reference, because you get taught elements. It totals to 120 hours, I believe, for AQA, and that's the one I do. So you get taught for 120 hours. I just do a lesson once a week, twice a week. It's not too bad. Then I go home, I do my ideas, I do my referencing, I'll write the essay. I've just done that now. It's quite useful though, because you do learn how to reference, you learn how to criticise your sources and know how reliable they are, which unis love. And you learn essay writing skills, and you also show that you're passionate about a topic of your choice. Believe me, the unis will eat this up. Sometimes they'll even lower your entry grades based on whether you've done a good EPQ. For example, Liverpool Uni, their standard I think is between AAB to ABB, and sometimes it gets lowered to BBB if you get an A in your EPQ. So it's useful to know. Some schools also offer scholarships, or some universities offer scholarships if you've done an EPQ and you've done well, just because it shows like academic excellence and that you've already got the skills which they require in a student to be able to go out and write their own essays, so you're like a little step ahead. It's just really useful, I think. It also allows you to explore an area of your choice which might be something you want to do a degree in. For example, I'm doing my EPQ on volcanology, which is something I wish to do in the future. You might be thinking, well, Bella, you do geography at A-level, doesn't that mean you can't do an EPQ in volcanology because you study volcanoes? Not precisely, because the area of volcanology that I'm doing on my EPQ doesn't get taught on my A-level geography course. I'm okay to do it. You're only not okay to do something if you've been taught everything about it in class, so just be careful. Maybe speak to a subject teacher, see what they say, but apart from that, really recommend it. The third thing I wish I'd known about is quite similar to an EPQ, but they're not accredited as much. They are called MOOCs. Now you're probably thinking again, what is a MOOC? And honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. It's a strange thing. But a MOOC is basically an online course run by universities or academic institutions which teach you a little bit about a topic of your choice. So I did my MOOC on an introduction to geology. It was by the Open University, and it basically gave me a little bit of a further insight into geology and what I might want to study at university. It's again going out of your way to study something which isn't on your curriculum, so super curricular, which is something you want to have an interest in the future, and the universities love it. Although you don't get UCAS points for doing MOOCs, if you can talk about what you learnt from a MOOC in your personal statement, it's really valuable. And while you're in year 12, I think trying to do EPQs and MOOCs is really, really good, because I've got a little bit of free time. What could I do in my free time? And if you do a MOOC or an EPQ, you're getting academic achievements as well, so it's quite cool. A lot of MOOCs are free to take, but some of them make you pay for certificates. I personally didn't get a certificate for mine. I've just made notes on mine basically, and if the university asks me what I've learned, I've still got my notes to reference, and I can tell them everything I enjoyed, what I didn't like so much, and you know, it's just useful. The fourth thing I wish I'd known before I started year 12 was the inside outs of my subjects. If you're doing coursework, you'll need to ask your teachers. Just make sure you've checked the specification, because a lot of the people in my year didn't know whether they were doing any A's or not. That just means non-examined assessment or something like that. So basically coursework. I do it for geography. Obviously my EPQ is a standalone project, but you need to check with your subject teachers what you're going to be studying. It gives you a little bit of an idea about how you're going to be through the year. If you like to be really academically organised and know exactly what you're studying, just ask. It wasn't such an issue for me. I'm only mentioning it just because you can get stuck sometimes if you're studying something or you're doing something you didn't think you were going to do. For example, if you were doing history and you thought that you weren't doing coursework and you were like, oh, hang on a minute, I don't remember that. It's the sort of thing you need to know. I did a lot of research into what I'd be studying in my A-levels. I did research into how it could help me in the future, which is something I'll get on to. And by the time I'd done all that, I was more than happy to go and study them. The fifth thing I wish I'd known is that it is very useful to choose A-levels which will kind of help you get a certain degree. So for example, if you knew that you wanted to be a doctor, for example, you'd need to take A-levels specific for that job. So biology, chemistry, maths, maybe further maths, physics, it depends, something out of that combination. What I think people don't realise is that, yeah, your GCSEs didn't matter so much about what you took, depending on what job you want to do. But once you get to year 12, you've really got to think consciously about where you want to be in the future. Saying this, it doesn't matter if you don't know where you want to be, just keep your options open, study things you enjoy, things you're good at. That should be standard for everything. But if you know for a fact you want to go down a certain career path and you take the wrong A-levels, it's going to cause an issue. For example, so if I wanted to be a doctor and I didn't take chemistry, which I don't do chemistry, but people always think I do, I wouldn't be able to be a doctor because I've not got that science. It's the same for a lot of jobs, so what I recommend is going on university websites, seeing what their requirements are, because all universities are different. See what their entry grades are. You've not got to worry about it so much at the start of year 12, but kind of the sooner the better, I guess. It just helps you feel a little bit less stressed when you're writing your personal statement, because you know that your A-levels and your predicted grades will hopefully kind of pair up with the university you want to go to. It's really important though to actually know what you need, and this does include target grades as well. So you can be more than aspirational for universities, that you can aim for the high ones. If you've been predicted targets which you think are too low, you can still apply. And when you do your mock exams and things, your teachers will like set you the target grade that will go to the universities and to UCAS and stuff. And once you've done that, the rest is history. You apply to 5 universities in most cases. If you're doing medicine or veterinary science, I think it's 4 and then 1 in a slightly different field, but I could be wrong. I'm sure there'll be videos out there on that. But for me, it's 5 universities. So you can apply to any universities, like realistically, of your choice. You could apply to Scotland, Wales, America, to Europe. You just got to kind of work through it. We use a platform in our school called Unifrog, and I cannot stress enough how much that has helped me narrow down my choices. It basically organises you a CV, your personal statement. It makes you shortlists on universities. It tells you where's probably a safe option, where's aspirational, where's your level and stuff like that. It's really useful, and it also helps with colleges if you want to look at Oxbridge, because there's like 30, it's crazy numbers, and they're all different, so you need to know. The next thing, I've lost count, I wish I'd known before I started year 12 was about independent study. Now, I'm saying this with caution because I feel like independent study is something you learn as time goes on in year 12, and for me that was very much the case. If you don't know what I mean by independent study, it's the idea that with your A-levels, you do an hour's work in the classroom, you do an hour outside of school, you do your homework, and then you do all your revision. So we basically have at our school frees, and these free periods or frees are basically used to do this independent study, whether that be creating cue cards, answering practice exam questions, supplementing your notes with the textbook or something. It's all different. Independent study is just really important though, because your teachers won't have enough time to cover everything in your course in the hourly kind of slots you get a week in most cases, and they will need you to go home and research things or read upon things. It's quite common, and if you do it anyway, you're just putting yourself ahead. So say once you've had a lesson, you make a cue card on a topic, you know, it's done, and you can use it for revision when you get to an exam, and then you don't have to stress as much about not having exam materials and things like that. The last thing I wish I'd known is about supercurriculars. Now, I've mentioned MOOCs and EPQs. It's basically a supercurricular is something you do on top of your current level of study or on your timetable that will put you in good stead for a future degree or future career path. So, for example, if you volunteer in a classroom once a week in like your maths classroom or whatever, or tutor your maths students in younger years, this is all stuff you can put on your personal statement to back up the idea that you're passionate about a subject. You can enter competitions like the UKMT, the Maths Challenge, you can enter the Biology Olympiad. I've done that twice now. There's all sorts. You can even enter essay competitions. If you look at universities, they'll have them on their websites and things. There's honestly loads you can do to prove that you're passionate beyond your classroom. Hopefully this video has been useful to you, giving you a little bit of an insight into year 12.